lovelies! If it's your first time seeing me, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today we're in the studio for an art project because it's November and I know that a lot of people are either fully in the Christmas festive spirit or they are going to very soon be there. I am not ready for that. My heart and soul is still in spooky season. I'm not ready for festive yet. I'm gonna have to get ready because, it's gonna be, yeah. To ease myself into that, what I'm going to do today is transform this Dollar Tree dollhouse. And yes, I have done this before. Last year, I'll link up above and down below, a video where I transformed this dollhouse into a spooky haunted house. And I have been able to find two versions of this particular plastic dollhouse. There's that style, which is pretty symmetrical, door in the middle, windows on either side, kind of angular. And then there's this one where the windows are a little bit off center and there's like this tower bay window kind of situation. Since I've already transformed the one style, I thought, what the heck, I'm gonna give my hand at this style. I really like this like bay window tower thing. I wasn't sure what to do with it though. When I searched, I found a lot of inspiration if I wanted to turn this into, say, a gingerbread house, a candy cane house, a traditionally red and green Christmas festive house. And that's all well and good. That's not where my heart is right now. And also, it's been done before. I wanted to do something a little bit different, much like the haunted house, which not too many people have spookified these. Still. Anyway, I really, really like that house. Okay, on to this one though. What I want to do with this one is still make it festive and seasonal, but not over the top Christmas. So I'm thinking of transforming it into an ice house. I have no idea how that's gonna go. I'm thinking maybe like hot glue and clear plastic. In the end though, I hope that this is going to look like a snowy, icy, frosty, I don't know, either frost covered or maybe it's made completely of snow. I'm not sure where we're gonna go with it, but this is what we're starting with, and let's see how it goes. You know, for those of us who maybe don't celebrate Christmas or aren't quite ready to celebrate Christmas. Okay, enough with the stalling. It's gonna be tricky, it's gonna be work, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Let's jump right in. I start by spray painting the entire house black, and I've taken all the windows and doors and everything out. I know that I start with part of the house white, but the black covers the pink and the lime green, and just spraying everything makes it more cohesive. The base I started with, it's particle board. It's part of a sign that I got from Dollar Tree last year for the spooky house. I painted navy blue and that espresso brown on top just to give it like some shadows and like dirt. And then these are pieces of beach ceramic that I found at the beach. And I'm stacking those to use as rocks. For the bushes, this is little pieces of like festive greenery, like pipe cleaners. I'm cutting one in half so it's smaller and then twisting and wrapping. The first one is a half of one of those lengths, and then these are a half a length. So they're all a little bit different in size. And I just kind of twist and wrap them up. I'm trying to make them look like bushes. And I found that by squishing and rolling it like that, crunches some of the little bristly bits and makes it look a little bit more organic and bush-like as opposed to just
like a festive pipe cleaner wrapped up. And that's what it ends up looking like. I think they're pretty cool. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go, but I was just playing around to get an idea. And now I've already glued down those stacks of ceramic, and I used just tacky glue to glue that down. Now I'm figuring out where the house is going to go, and then I'm going to glue some ceramic pieces to look like rocks near the house. So like this piece right here is like a front step or like a little porch area. I'm bouncing back and forth between working on the house and working on the base. Partially because of like dry time. So when the glue for these pieces dry, then I'll work on the house. And then when the paint on the house needs to dry, I work on the base. It's also to make sure that things sort of mesh together. I didn't want to finish the whole house and then start on the base and potentially break something off the house. Okay, so the next step for the base is putting down some blue, some dark blue for shadows. And this I'm using like a cobalt blue. So like a nice dark blue, but like a rich blue, not like a navy blue. I'm just going around all the rocks where like shadows would be, and in between, under, just slapping it on. It doesn't have to be neat. Then I go in with some brown, again, to simulate like shadows, specifically like rock shadows, dirt, that kind of thing. I got some inspiration for all of the techniques that I did for both the base and the house from actually the Warhammer community. I did not see that coming, even though those are miniatures. I just considered them to be not the same kind of miniatures that I work on, even though they completely, totally kind of are. Anyway, so for the base, it's a snowy base effect, and it was inspired by Painting Baron. I'll link his video below so you can go and check it out. It was really, really helpful. Okay, now I'm going in with a white wash, and we're moving on to the house now. So I'm just going to give a white wash over the black, because I don't want to completely cover the black. That's going to be shadow behind the ice. And for the house, I'm specifically going for an icy effect that's inspired by No Paint, No Gains. And again, I'll link his video down below. Both of these fellows' videos were really, really helpful. Quite informative, entertaining, actually, as well. So if you're into miniatures, I highly recommend branching out and checking out all different sorts of miniatures, because you never know when inspiration is going to hit and you're going to find some really useful information. So at this point, I've gone back and thickened up the wash just a little bit, because being plastic, if it was too thin, it starts to like separate and puddle and pool and move. It has to be a little bit thicker in order for it to not like just fall off, basically. And I whitewashed all the windows, the door, and the furniture as well. And this doesn't have to be neat. You just slap it on, because there's more layers going on. For the bed here, I'm just basically whitewashing the headboard and around the base. I have a plan that I think I might try a little bit later on. So I'm not going to paint the whole thing, just what's going to be visible later. You'll see. And yeah, because everything is small and fiddly, I ended up painting my fingers as much, if not more. Okay, now back to the base while everything else dries with the house. I'm going in with a light green and dry brushing over the base and the rocks a little bit. And this just gives it like a greenery look underneath the snow, potentially. because, when it snows, you still have grass under there. I was a little heavy-handed, not on purpose there, but that's okay. That's where the house is going, so it's going to get covered up. I was a little impatient, and I wanted to get that color on faster, and made a whoopsie. So that's a lesson in be patient and take your time. Okay, back to the house, and it's time for another wash. This is light blue, and this is just going to go over top of the white. Again, on everything, the house, the window frames, and the furniture. Oh yeah, and I'm painting the inside and the outside of the house this time. If you've seen my spooky transformation, then you'll know that I just painted the outside of that house and put a light in and sort of sealed it so the inside doesn't exist. This time I want to try something different. I think I'm going to make like a 360 viewable display. So I'm decorating all the inside with the intention of keeping it open so that, all elements of this house are visible. Also because, the pieces come with the kit, and it doesn't make sense to have all the little furniture without the house. And I didn't want to just throw it out. Okay, so now that all the washes have dried, I'm going in and dry brushing with that nice, bright, vibrant blue. And that just gets dry brushed anywhere where shadows would be. So like in between the cushions, behind pillows, around any cracks or crevices. And anywhere that I'm a little heavy brushed, I found that just like dabbing with my finger helps to blend and remove some of that extra paint. This was a little bit of a balancing act. You want to start with a small amount and build it up, but you also don't want to manipulate too much, because if you do, then you end up pulling off layers that you put down previously. So you have to sort of start light, but not too light. Put down a good amount, but not too heavy. And there's everything done. The house and all the furniture. Now I decided to mix some white with that nice vibrant blue, because the pale blue I initially used I found too gray, and I didn't like it. So I'm going back and doing just a little bit of a wash pretty much over everything, and this is just to blend everything together. This is not really a necessary step, but I found it to be, just look how that couch looks now. Oh, this blue wash just kind of takes down the shadow a little bit and softens it, and also warms up the light blue. Like I said, that pale blue I used initially was a little too gray, a little too cold, and this warmer blue it makes it look better, because ice kind of glows, and I didn't find that gray blue to really glow. Going back with just a touch of a slightly darker blue just to bring out some of those shadows. Again, it's sort of a balance of lightening it, darkening it, putting some on, taking some off, but being very careful, because with all the layers, you don't want to manipulate it too much or you end up taking chunks off. Once all that was softened, then I went in with a nice bright white, just at the top points where highlights would be, anywhere that would catch the light. So the top of the chairs, the top of the armrests, the edge of cushions. So pretty. Ooh, did you see that? Okay, so for the TV, I decided as well to paint the whole screen white. I just thought that looked... If your TV is off, you'd get a black screen, but if it's ice, I figured it would be white. I don't know, I like the contrast. I did the same thing with the house, and just like a stipple smear. So you see I'm just kind of swiping, but like bouncing the brush. So it's nice and light. Once that's all done, then I put glass, quote unquote, in the windows. To make that, I painted I mixed up some glue with a tiny little bit of white paint to give it just a little opacity, and I painted it first in one direction and then in the other. So you go the tacky glue and white paint. And I measured around the windows, cut out the plastic pieces, and then painted them. Once that was dry, then I could glue them into the window frames. I don't know if it was better to put the windows, like the glass, in the frames before putting the frames back in the house, or if it would have been easier to put the frames in first and then put the glass in. I don't know. It looks really nice though. It was a struggle. There were so many layers of paint. This was hard to do. Trying to get the windows snapped snug in there without chipping off the multitude of layers of paint. You just have to be careful and slowly work it in. Some of the windows buckle a little bit, but it is what it is. Then I just touched up the little pieces that click the window in to the house. I found it easiest because the windows were like purple and stuff to put a dark blue and then go with a lighter blue on top. And I'm using gloss Mod Podge to protect and coat all the pieces for the house and the house itself, again to give it that glass look. I figure the glossy, shiny Mod Podge would work the best. The Mod Podge was the easiest to use for all these little pieces because I could hold them in my hand and get a good grip and just put on what I needed. If I tried to spray paint, they'd just move all over the place and it would have been a nightmare. I kind of wish I had spray varnish or something for the house though. That would have been nicer. Mod Podging that was difficult because it was just so much bigger, all the nooks and crannies. But it got done. And then I hot glued the furniture pieces into the house. They're going to be permanently in there because it's a display piece. It's no longer a toy. It's now art. I cannot believe that I hot glued all of these teeny tiny pieces into the house and not once did I burn my finger. I think this is a first. It's a very rare occurrence for me to use a hot glue gun while I'm crafting and not sustain some sort of a burn. So yay me! Yeah, I hate all those spidery webs of the hot glue. Still hate that. Anyway, I put a couple little rugs with some scrap fuzzy yarn, and or fuzzy fabric, not yarn. Anyway, I'm just gluing those down with tacky glue. I decided that that would be easier both on my fingers and on the fabric than hot glue. So probably could have used tacky glue for the furniture as well, but I decided to give hot glue a try for that. And so far everything's worked. Now it's time to combine the house and the base and finish this off and turn it into a complete little diorama. Okay, so to attach the house to the base, I used hot glue, clearly, and this worked out even better than I anticipated because the house that I purchased was a little warped. It had a bit of a bow to the ground floor, but the heat from the hot glue ended up like relaxing that, so I was able to glue it completely to the base and it like flattened out the floor. It was brilliant. I'm so happy with that. Okay, now to snowify things. I'm mixing together just regular Elmer's white school glue, some baking soda, and like a watery white paint. The tutorial recommended white ink. I didn't have ink, but I figured the consistency of this paint would be fine. And I just mix it until it's like this paste consistency, and then just slap it on the base, essentially. Yeah, you're not trying to like cover everything completely, But, you want a nice coat so it looks like a snowfall. And because it's this like thick, goopy texture, you can just sort of let it drip and drizzle all over like the plants and the rocks and the ground. You can see it kind of drizzles like frosting almost. And it takes a little while to dry, so you have some room to play to sort of move things, cover up what you want, uncover what you might have accidentally covered that you don't want covered. And the dry time is both a blessing and a curse. Like I mentioned, like you can, move it around and you have time to play with it. But it's also really drippy. See, I had some drips when I was putting the snow on the roof. I ended up moving it clearly to the windows, but the fact that it took so long to dry, I didn't necessarily like. While it was still wet, though, another good point is that you add some of the leftover um, baking soda. Just sprinkle it willy-nilly on top, and then it sticks to the goop while it's still wet and gives you that look of like freshly fallen snow. Plus, it was really fun to do. Clearly, I had probably a little too much fun with this part. Now, when it all dries, the baking soda, it looked really, really good on the house. I don't know why it didn't change color on the house, but on the base, it went yellow. So we're going to fix that in a minute, but first, you go in with a dark blue wash. Initially, it was a little bit too much paint to water, but that's okay. It works. So you just go in with a wash and bring all your shadows back out that you covered up with the goop. As you can see, I've watered it down a little bit more, and that helps to spread, and so it's not quite so dark. And again, you just play around with it, just getting out the shadows underneath the bushes and around the rocks and on the rocks. You don't want to forget that too, because the difference there. You can see the bright white rocks in the middle, and then the ones that have the shadow that I'm working on there. It's a little step, but it makes a huge difference. And then I go in with a whitewash to whiten up that yellowed snow and just soften some of the shadows too. I went back over some of those really dark shadows with the whitewash just to tone them down a little bit. I was afraid that it would pull some of the snow stuff, that goop, off when it got wet again, but actually it wasn't too bad. It does need a little extra dry time. And then once it dries, you go in with just white paint and kind of dry brush, kind of not dry brush. I started dry brushing and then I said, to heck with it. And just started stipple dabbing the white paint back on just to bring those highlights back out. This part did kind of pull up some of that snow goop, but you can just press it back down and it works okay. Yeah, so we're just bringing the highlights back, making sure that the snow looks white and that it's not too dark or too light. And now that we're essentially done with the process, how about we head into the reveal?
This turned out even more beautiful than I expected. It actually looks snowy, frosty, icy. Okay, now I know I said I was going to work on this today, but in reality, it took about a week and a half to finish. Partly because of dry time. There was a lot of dry time. So many layers of paint and snow effect and washes, and totally worth it though. And I like having the inside of this one. I think that turned out really, really nice as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to do an inside at first because it's not a complete house. There's no like bathroom and kitchen, and I'm kind of a stickler for those kind of details in miniature houses. But it's cute. A little TV area with lots of rugs and little pillows. The pillows are just fabric folded in half and hot glued. Little living room, kind of a formal seating area with some fluffy pillows. Those gray pillows were tacky glued, just fluffy fabric folded in half, tacky glued together, and then cut in pillow shape. And the blanket, just a scrap of fabric. All of the fabrics that are used inside are leftovers from various projects. As much as I do not like working with fluffy fabric, it's difficult to sew and it gets everywhere. It was nice having the leftovers to put in here. It really lends to the icy feel. It makes me think of like the Ice Hotel in Quebec, which is pretty cool. And speaking of the bed in particular, really makes me think of the Ice Hotel with them. They almost look like animal hides, the suede-like fabrics. And the reading nook up in the attic is probably my favorite room, mainly because of those tiny little books, which are basically just, it's a strip of cardboard that I wrapped washi tape around. So the washi tape is like the cover. And then of course, along with the house and all the furniture is included a little doll. And I had a little doll left over from last year's haunted house. So it gave me two little dolls. And since I was going with an ice theme for this diorama, I figured it was fitting to have a very cursed Anna and Elsa. I think I used reference photos. I think it's pretty obvious if you're familiar with the characters that those are their traveling outfits from Frozen 2. But this is kind of like if a knockoff Polly Pocket made a knockoff of Frozen. Don't look too deep into the eyes of Anna. She's seen things. I think they're cute though. Especially from a distance, not so bad. Up close, from a distance, they're not that bad. I would call this a resounding success though. I very much like it. My frosty, seasonal, not exactly Christmas because I'm not there yet, but very much winter Dollar Tree, Dollhouse, transformation diorama. It's going to look very nice with the spooky one when I get another shelf, because clearly I have I have a space problem. As in I need more. Thanks so much for watching, lovelies. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it possibly inspirational, maybe entertaining. And yeah, we're going to keep the festive train going with the next video. So I'll see you back for that in a couple weeks. Until then, stay safe, stay fabulous, know that you're loved. Bye.